Zay, you brought up a very interesting topic to my attention earlier. Okay, Devin Haney is decision week when it comes to his career and what's next, right? Obviously, he just beat Lomachenko, and the WBC has allowed him an extended extension, to decide what he wants to do next, whether that be move up to 140 to fight Regis Prograis, or whether that's to fight Shakur Stevenson and get something worked out over there. He has a whole lot of options, even beyond those two guys. We could be talking about Teofimo Lopez, who, by the way, came out of retirement, and talk smack with Haney, right? Potentially a fight could be looming over there, and also a Tank fight potentially, even though it looked like Tank is going another route. So, yeah, Zay, you brought it up to my attention. I'll give the mic to you first. Is Devin Haney ducking Shakur Stevenson? And please give the listeners an update that you sent me earlier today and why the question is worded that way.
So, the way it was phrased is because on Twitter, the source is Michael Benson. He is a reporter of boxing. He goes on Twitter, and most of his sources are correct in terms of what he reports, what he's getting. So he got it from ESPN that Bill Haney has indicated that his son Devin Haney will be moving up to fight Regis Prograis in a potential fight to lead up to get the contendership to fight Teofimo Lopez. I personally believe that Devin Haney is not only ducking Shakur Stevenson, he is making the best move for his career. Reason being is because he is aligning a situation where we will see him versus Teofimo Lopez, him versus Ryan Garcia, and also him versus Gervonta Davis. The main fights we've been wanting to see for years now, the ones that we continually to ask boxing to make when they were all in the same division, and it seems like everything is aligning in just the perfect format. Right now, Shakur Stevenson is right now sitting at 135. Loma's still there. Gervonta Davis might forego the belts to go to 140 to fight those guys because he wanted to fight Haney. He wanted to fight Lopez. He already fought Ryan Garcia. So that those guys are already aligned to fight each other as is. Davis is going to be in that division, possibly fighting Shakur, possibly fighting Loma in these next two fights, potentially. That might be the potential thing happening here. Davis is going to fight Shakur and Loma, or Shakur and Loma are going to fight each other. One of those, however it all rounds out. And I think it's perfect that Haney is making this kind of move. I think Shakur Stevenson is still at a very young age. He still has a lot more years in boxing, and also Haney still has a lot more years in boxing. And put them to fight each other right now may be what they've been trying to prevent from happening years ago, when they prevented Spence and Crawford from fighting, when they prevented Davis and Lomachenko from fighting years ago. These are the fights that boxing has been straying away from until both fighters hit their pinnacle, until both fighters have reached the momentum to high star caliber boxers. These sellout box office boxers. They wait until they hit that pinnacle to put these Goliaths together. And this, from a business aspect, makes the most sense for Devin Haney. Now, as a competitor, yeah, you're ducking. It feels like crap that you're ducking. And it looks horrible that you're ducking, you're shying away from a talented fighter who's in your division, who fought tooth and nail to become the number one mandatory contender for the belts, and you're just going to drop him to go after a bigger fish, which is Teofimo Lopez. We can all say, oh, well, Shakur Stevenson is better than Teofimo Lopez, but guess what? Teofimo is the bigger name. Teofimo brings more money into your pocket when you fight him and when the pay-per-views are selling. That's who you want to fight against. Shakur Stevenson, as great as he is as a boxer, he is not the household name in boxing just yet. He is fighting his way to get there. I believe when Shakur fights Loma, when Shakur fights Gervonta Davis, he will get to that point. He will get to a point where people will recognize his name worldwide and say Shakur Stevenson, box office name in boxing. Right now, he is not there just yet. He still has more fine tuning. But that is what Devin Haney is looking at. He's like, Shakur Stevenson, do I want to really go, into Shakur Stevenson fight right now? I barely beat Loma. Oh, I didn't beat Loma, and I got to go after Shakur next? Nah, I'll fight Regis Prograis. I know I can take him out, and then I can still fight Teofimo Lopez. I know I can take him out. Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia is still a big name in boxing. Mr. Promotion himself, Ryan Garcia, that also brings in a lot of money. So there's a lot of different fights for Devin Haney in that 140 because right now Shakur Stevenson, he's scared of him. And I can say that confidently. He is not confident in fighting Shakur Stevenson right now in this juncture. But I know that was a long take. So, yes, he is ducking Shakur Stevenson currently.
I agree with Zay. He is ducking him currently, and he's not going to pick him. If he picks Shakur Stevenson, I owe Devin Haney an apology because I'm not expecting it whatsoever. This whole decision thing is not really a decision. For some reason, he's just laying it off to announce the Regis fight. And I think because he'd lose to Shakur. I think Shakur would piece up Devin Haney. I don't know if he'd get him out of there, but I think it would be a clinic on Shakur, and I think he would beat Devin Haney pretty decisively. No disrespect to Devin Haney because he's gotten the job done for the most part. I know the Loma thing could have went either way. I haven't seen it yet. I have to see it. But Devin Haney, he beat Kambosos twice, easy, and now I think I understand where Zay's coming from, where he probably wants to go up and move up to fight Lopez. And that is a big fight because they've been drawing at it for a while now, too. Remember, they were on Mike Tyson's podcast. And then I think Haney was on the FaceTime, and they were drawing a little bit a couple of years ago. So this fight's been building up as well. However, I just want to see what Shakur is going to do against Haney. That's my biggest thing, and that's what I really want to see because I really think Shakur will put on a clinic. When you look at this kid Shakur, his footwork is amazing. The way his accuracy is amazing. It's like, how is everything so technically good? Like that's what I see when I see Shakur Stevenson. I'm like, yo, this kid is masterful in his technique. And I really think that he would get Devin Haney. He'd give him an L. And it's gonna be tough not to see it happen. But now my opposition to Zay's claim where boxing setting it up where they don't want to see Shakur fight Haney yet. I think it's kind of the opposite where it's like, hey, you're getting the choice, Dev. You got to go fight either Shakur or Regis, so you get to pick. And it's up to Devin Haney to decide what he wants right now. Because if Haney beats Shakur, that's an even bigger win on his resume than I think Loma. Because Shakur is up and coming. Loma's still great, but he's a little up there in age. He's been in the game for a minute. And if Haney were to beat Shakur at this age, while they're still young and they still have a lot of time, where it's not like one's older than the other by a lot, I think that would mean a lot more than if he went and beat Regis. I mean, obviously the T.O. fight, that would be, spectacular. That'd be a spectacle, and that would matter a lot as well. But imagine if he goes out and he beats Shakur and then he goes and fights Teo and beats Teo. Imagine if he has those 3 wins on his resume at that age. If he would beat Loma, Shakur, and Teo. Like, imagine he did that for his legacy. What else would he have to? Who else would he have to fight? Like that's why I feel like this makes more sense for a legacy standpoint, in sense of just going, let me go fight Regis because I'll probably beat him. I'll get the belt. I'll move up, and then I'll set up a Teo fight. But in reality, we know how boxing works, and is that fight really going to get set up after he fights Regis? I don't think so. And that's why I say, look, now that you have the choice to fight Shakur or Regis, go fight Shakur because it's already set up. This Teo fight's going to take a lot of time to set up. And who knows what, the split and all this other nonsense that goes on with the contract negotiations that we don't know about. Is it really going to happen after that? I don't know. And that's why I think you got to go fight Shakur right now. Do not fight Regis.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Dean.O in that last sentiment. I agree with everybody in the sense that Haney is ducking Shakur Stevenson, and that's obvious. But I'm going to take a unique style approach here in following up that remark because, yes, I understand there's beef, there's animosity, there's a history with Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez, but so it is with Shakur Stevenson as well, right? Maybe it's not the colorful trash talking words on social media like how it is with Haney and Lopez, but these guys sparred each other. There's a lot of theories on who won that sparring that a lot of people is all over the place with, right? There is the video circulating on the internet with these 2 guys at the same party, and Shakur saying sign the contract. He had a sign saying sign the contract. There's a lot of trash talking going on. Shakur Stevenson went into the ring after Haney got gifted the victory over Loma, and there's a history there. So there's It's a history. The problem that I have, right? And I won't call it a problem. It's a reality. Devin Haney is the luckiest cat in boxing right now. My guy is catching more breaks than frogs are catching fireflies right now. And it's honestly appearing to me. I mean, let's go back to memory lane because we have to go back in history to learn the future, right? And where we are right now. Because it wasn't that too long ago where this guy couldn't buy a fight. He had no leverage to be making any decision. Okay, he would have been happy with a fight against a daggone old Manny Pacquiao if Manny Pacquiao offered him the fight. Okay, and I'm just bringing up Pacquiao's name, not saying weight class, but just bringing up his name just to prove a point, right? And Loma, who's supposed to get, first of all, let's go back, more back, right? Lopez fought Cambosos after he beat Loma in the prime of Loma's career with no fans in the stands and took the belts and he gave it up to Cambosos. Cambosos just fought last night. He ain't any good. A lot of people thought he lost the fight last night. Okay? And he got the belts from Lopez, and Loma was supposed to get that opportunity to fight Cambosos and get those belts, right? And guess what? He had to go and enlist in the army, to fight for his country. That's when Devin Haney got his opportunity, beat Cambosos, who's clearly overrated, took the belts, and now he became the guy making decisions, right? And not only that, he gives Loma the fight that was supposed to be Loma, okay? And then Loma won the fight. Clearly, I don't care about he said, she said, oh, the boxing world is split. The boxing world is not split, okay? Anybody with eyes that know the sport of boxing and watch that fight, 12 rounds of it, know that Loma won that fight, okay? But yet the judges, right? Mind you, most people thought Loma won, okay? You could put 100 people in the room, 65 will probably say Loma won that fight. The other 30 will probably say Haney. But yet 3 judges conveniently all saw that Haney won that fight. Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I know the name of the game. I've been watching boxing for too long. So he got gifted that decision. And then now Regis Prograis is in the grass for him to pounce on. Peep the wordplay there. And his last fight, he looked horrible. In his last fight, I believe he got knocked down, if I'm not mistaken, in the second round. And now Haney is with a golden opportunity to pounce on another overrated fighter to secure another belt so he can try to go after the belts at 140. I mean, you talk about the luck here. So, yes, he is ducking Shakur Stevenson because Shakur Stevenson, right, has skills that will give Devin Haney a fit. I will pick Shakur to win that fight. But Zay and Dean.O, before I pass the mic back to y'all, what Shakur Stevenson needs to do is be honest with himself and take a flat fee and a pay cut in the purse, because clearly Haney got the belts. And the one thing I would give Haney, the one thing after all I said that I would give Haney was he was smart in a way. Sometimes, yes, luck comes your way, but you got to be smart with that luck. He was smart. He took a pay cut to fight Cambosos. I believe it was 35, it was 70-30 per split in favor of freaking Cambosos. Remember, Shakur Stevenson said that I'm not worth 20% or something like that. I think they tried to give him 20. He was like, I'm not worth that. 25% or something like that with the purse. He needs to accept that flat fee if he believes that he can beat Haney. And I believe he can, but he has to take that pay cut to put himself in a prime position to be the A side going forward. So leave y'all with that.
Well, let's get one thing clear. Shakur Stevenson not getting A side none of these big names. Unless he's fighting Loma right now or somebody. I don't even think he gets A side on Loma. He has to earn that. You can't just go up there and just be like, all right, I want A side. Or I feel like he shouldn't take a pay cut either. I feel like he should stay the course and keep going the way boxing has him going, because unless you're taking a 90-10 split, you're not gonna fight these big names. And it's about the money. It's about the payday. It's not about what my record says or who my resume says, X, Y, Z. The only
so you don't think he should take a pay cut
absolutely
and be the A side in the rematch? Because if he takes a pay cut and he beats Haney, there should be something in the contract that's negotiated where he could be the A side in the rematch. So maybe it's 60-40 A side for Shakur in the second fight. You have to have that belief in himself. With Haney became the A side, what I just said, by taking a friendly pay cut all right, to fight Cambosos because he knew he could beat him because clearly he's overrated, so he can be the A side going forward. So he starved himself, even though he's not really starving, to get himself in this position that he is now. Shakur
Okay,
needs to do the same thing,
okay,
especially if he believes he can win.
but Haney had no
I
choice. He
agree.
wasn't
I
gonna be
agree.
A side against Cambosos. Hey, Cambosos had all the belts. The man had all the belt. How the hell Haney gonna be like, yeah, I want the A side? It don't matter who you want. You have nothing. Cambosos had all the belts, so of course he's gonna be A side. We just saw Bivol and Canelo not happen because Canelo wanted to jip Bivol again. He wanted to take all everything. I want the A side. I want this split. I want that split. You get nothing again. But we've seen this. It's about the money. These guys are not fighting for free. You want the big names because it comes with a big purse. Why would Shakur want to fight Devin Haney for way less than he's worth so he could possibly be the A side down the line? Like, no, I want the money. The bag is supposed to come with the big fight. That's why all these guys want to fight the fights. If not, they'll just be fighting lower tier fighters for the rest of their career and stack their money up and just beat everybody up from the lowest of the lows to the mids. Like, it wouldn't make sense. Shakur should go the path. He's still extremely young. Go the path you're supposed to go. And then you'll get the bigger fights down the line. Look at Gervonta Davis. He was fighting nobodies for a very long time. Now he's getting the bigger names. And now
Zay, let me ask you this question. Because you brought up a fair point. Fair is fair. I'm always gonna call fair on the show. Fair, right? Because your assumption is that what's the risk? What's the reward of taking a fight like this right now? Right? Especially if you make big fights, the point is to make money. That's why you take on the big fights. That's the new name of the game in boxing. So you can continue to build your name up by fighting tomato cans to the point where you are a pay-per-view star where you can get a bigger purse. I understand your point. Fair point, right? Now, let's say this fight does happen and Shakur takes a 20% split or 30% split compared to a Haney 80%, 70%. If he loses, hypothetically, Shakur loses because I think Shakur will win the fight. Hypothetically, he loses a close fight and the judges come through for Haney again. What's the backlash in his career? Like, he can't rebound from that? Like, you mean to tell me because he lost to Haney in a close fight that he can't rebound from that and work his way back up the ladder? Or do you think like, he can? Like, how do you feel about that? Because if you think he can't, then yeah, I agree with you. But if you think he can rebound from that, then he should be able to rebound from that.
Oh, of course, any boxer can rebound from anything. We've seen that in a multitude of times with multiple boxers. Everyone rebounds from a loss. That's not the case here. But it's like, if you want to fight Haney now, it's fine. But I want the bag that come with it. I'm not gonna take crumbs to fight Haney when I know I should be making way more. I don't care what Haney's asking for. Fair is fair. It needs to be diplomatic to where I make my money. I'm not saying he deserves 20% of the purse. He deserves way more. I feel like it should be probably 65-35. Right now, because like I said, Shakur Stevenson is as big as a name, as big as a talent as he is in boxing. His name is not as big as what his talent is. Right now, his talent is way higher than what his name is. It needs to get to the point where his name matches the talent that he showcases in the ring. And right now, it's not showing. His name is not showing that in a boxing world. Everyone knows his talent, but to sell tickets at the door and all this stuff and sell out arenas and stadiums, Shakur's name is not up there yet. And Haney's name just got there after he beat Loma. Rather we agree or disagree with the verdict, his name just got up there.
I mean, he's not a box office fighter. Okay, that fight did 75,000 pay-per-view buys. He can't even sell out a daggone summer camp. Okay, my question, Dean.O, and I'm gonna throw this to you and Zay. Feel free to chime in on that. Let me ask you this question, and the reason why I bring up this question is because I want to, come back to that point that we are making in the debate that we having right now. So, Dean.O, who's a tougher fight for Shakur Stevenson and why? Haney or Tank?
Tank, because Tank is a lethal finisher. Tank's going to go out there and get the job done. He's going to go out there and beat people. I mean, and Tank is more exciting too than Haney by far. Look at when Tank was fighting Mario Barrios a few years ago, about 2 years ago, and I think it was in Atlanta or something. Whole arena is sold out. It was a crazy fight. That fight was amazing. One of the best fights I've watched this decade. And you have Tank, just the way he fights and how small he is and how accurate he is and the way he moves around. I think it's way more dangerous for Shakur to fight Tank than Devin Haney. Devin Haney, when I watch Devin Haney, I see him, yes, he's good at, jabbing, sticking, moving, and jab. But Devin Haney, what I see doesn't really have much power. I don't really see Devin Haney trying to get guys out of there. He's a decision fighter from what I've seen, and I think that Shakur would beat him. I think that it would be harder for Shakur to beat Tank, and I think there'll be a more even fight. I think Shakur could potentially get Devin Haney out of there, but I think Shakur would win by unanimous decision. I think it's risky to let it go to the judges because, I mean, like Leel says, if Haney wins another one from the judges, I think it's risky for Shakur to let that happen. But I think overall, Tank is a tougher fight for Shakur than Devin Haney at this exact point in his career, and I think going down the line as well.
Zay, same question.
Yeah, Javante Davis is a tougher fight right now, in my opinion.
All right, I'm glad you answered that. I want to stop you right there. I agree. I'll say Tank. The reason why I asked that question is because right now Haney is moving up to 140, along with the likes of Theo, along with the likes of Ryan Garcia, Rolly, all those guys over there. Right now at 135, the prominent names that I'm talking about the prominent names. I'm not talking about, all the talent that's still at 135, right? There's still a decent amount of talent over there. But the two notable guys that's left, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is those two guys, Shakur Stevenson and Javante Davis. So right now, they will be on a collision course to fight each other because they're at the same weight class, more so than Haney moving up. How fast are we going to see Shakur Stevenson move up to fight Haney? Matter of fact, I think he will be at a more disadvantage just shooting up to 140 without a tune-up to fight Haney. So let's say that he fights Tank because they're in the same collision course and that fight gets made. That's a more dangerous fight for Shakur Stevenson, who he could lose to Tank. And he would definitely not be the A side. Now, if you fight Haney while he's still at 135 and you take that pay cut, like I said, Haney got to want to fight, right? We saying Shakur need to do this. What if Haney doesn't want to fight? I get it. But let's say Haney wants to fight, but at a pace or negotiations where he's clearly the A side and there's no competition for the purse. Then you fight him because you could beat him. And if there's a rematch clause, you'll be the A side or at least 50-50 down the middle in the second. And then you beat him 2 times. And then now you have the belts. And you could fight Tank because Tank will want you. You will be a more lucrative fight for Tank because you have all the belts. Right? And now you are, let's say, maybe a 60-40 in favor of Tank because he sells a little bit more. So now your purse is respectable in a Tank fight by you beating Haney. So I understand the long game. And Zay, it's no offense. Like, you're operating from a management. Like mostly management and promoters, they think the way you're bringing out. So you reporting on what you see. I'm going to manage your career. So I'm not going to put you at risk where you lose a fight and now I have to build you back up. I'm going to strategically, calculatedly, build you up and build your name up to you a pay-per-view star. Then you get a big fight. That's how boxing normally works. But I think right now in 2023, things should shift a little bit. And I think there's a wild card for Shakur Stevenson to make himself a prominent name by taking a flat fee to fight Haney and get the belts and secure the belts and now control the cards.
Real quick, and before you get in, I want to ask you this. I want to ask y'all both this, right? Now that if Haney says I'm going up to 140, the mega fights don't stop for Shakur Stevenson. If anything, this could have been a blessing in disguise because guess what? You said Davis is the only prominent name in the division. Lomachenko's right there. And you're saying Lomachenko versus Shakur is not going to ring bells? That's not going to ring bells in a boxing community? That's a big name. I know a lot of people, like I said, you remember I said talent is way bigger than names? This guy's name hasn't been brought up yet in quite some time, but he's ringing bells in a division too, and that's Isaac Cruz, a guy that Javante Davis fought. And he's been, since that fight, his name has been rising since. It's been skyrocketing since that fight. He's
let me ask you this other question, Dean.O and Zay, right? This is my last question, then I'm done, for real. So, you're giving me ideas, Zay. And every good point that you're making, because you are making valid points, like I feel like I have an outlet to just like shoot them down quickly. Now, let's say Loma beats Shakur or Haney beats Shakur. What fight will be the worst of loss? I think that's a clear answer, but I'm asking it for a reason. Like, what would be a worse of loss? Loma, Shakur losing to Loma, or Shakur losing to Haney?
Shakur losing to Haney, by far. Loma is a much more experienced vet, and he's a better fighter than Haney, in my opinion. And I think that just the way Haney fights. I think if Shakur were to lose that fight stylistically, I think that would do more harm for him in his career than losing to Loma. Because Loma's a seasoned vet. Loma knows how to get the job done. He's a great fighter overall. So if Shakur loses the whole Loma, it's like, all right, well, he lost to Loma. Like, Loma's great. But like with Haney, like Haney's kind of like, you know, in a way, a sign of the times. Like, we got inflation. Haney's a little inflated. So I want to see I would think it'd be a worse loss for Shakur if he lost to Haney.
The problem with that, though, Dean.O, the problem with that response is that although Loma to me won that fight, and I really firmly believe that, and I will fight anybody to the grave that he won that fight, he still lost. And in the mass appeal and the mass perception is that he lost that fight because like everybody's going to forget about it. Like, yo, he lost that fight, right? So now technically you're not supposed to lose to somebody that lost to the guy that you want to fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
But go ahead, Zay, the mic is yours.
I was only going to say that like a loss to either of them doesn't hinder Shakur. If he has an out. You know, if he loses to Haney or Loma, it's like, all right, well, he's a young guy who shot up the ranks super quick. He has an out. Like, you know, oh, he bit off more than he could chew. If he wins, it's fantastic. But if he loses, he's what, Canelo Alvarez? Remember when Canelo Alvarez shot up the ranks and fought Floyd? Everyone's like, oh yeah, he's not. He bit off more than he could chew. He wasn't ready for Floyd. And then what happened after
that?
Was
Floyd though. Like, but Floyd is a great all-time fighter.
And Loma is a great
Canelo was able
fighter.
to recover from that though, because it's different. Like Floyd is going down in the history book. So that loss is not a bad loss. What I'm saying is that if Shakur fights Loma, because you're saying that fight is still there, it could be made. That's a good fight for Shakur Stevenson. You don't have to jump into Haney. Well, if he loses to Loma, Haney will be like, I beat Loma. Why do I need to fight you now? And Tank will be like, wait, hold up. Haney beat Loma and you lost to Loma. I'm not trying to fight you, because a lot of people is labeling Tank a cherry picker. I'm not sure how to feel about that. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, maybe he's management. But if Shakur is looked upon as dangerous, if you lose to Loma, why would I fight you? And Haney beat Loma. If I'm Tank, I'll make the fight with Haney. I'll go up to 140 and fight Haney. And if I'm Haney, I fight Tank or Lopez. I'm not fighting Shakur.
I don't think Tank is really a cherry picker. I mean, a lot of his fights are entertaining. You know, he fought Pitbull Cruz, he fought Mario Barrios, he fought Ryan Garcia, and I think all those were pretty on schedule. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of his career goes when he starts, you know, keep climbing up the ranks.
Correct.
But right now, I wouldn't say he's a cherry picker.
I won't say him. I think his management is a little bit.
They definitely were. But at the same time, you know, that Mario Barrios fight was definitely as talented as Tank was. A lot of people was like, "Oh, Mario Barrios has the height, he has the reach advantage, he has this, he has that, he has the power." A lot of people I saw had Mario Barrios potentially beating Gervonta Davis based on just intangibles on his
scorecards. They were. Like, from when I was watching, I was like, this is a close fight.
So Gervonta Davis had to really get him out of there in order for that fight to really, and he, you know, he did. But a lot of people had like, oh, Mario Barrios could take this guy out before like I'm talking about the weigh-ins and stuff. They were looking at like physicals, like, oh, Mario Barrios is a bigger fighter, and how is Tank going to get out of this one? So we had to see him fight out of it. Like going back to Shakur Stevenson, right? Like the guys he's going after are the more experienced fighters, right? He of course he's an Olympic fighter in Shakur, and he has the talent. We all know he has the talent. We see them on full display. Now we're gonna see him against the bigger names, hopefully sooner than later. But like if he loses to these guys, we're not looking at him like, oh, you know, he's not ready for the big time. It's like, all right, you know, he got some experience and now he'll be ready moving forward. That's how most times go. Some guy fights a really experienced fighter, a guy who has a big name. They take him out, and it's like, oh, now this guy's ready to be that box office guy. And I don't know if it's going to be Haney that his name gets like that. I don't know if it's going to be Loma or Gervonta Davis. But once he fights that big name that everybody universally respects, that's when it gets to the point. Win or lose, his name is going to be there. Like, look at Isaac Cruz. I mean, like I said, his name, he lost to Gervonta Davis,
that's my
and
point.
He got more respect. It's like,
that's my point. That if Shakur Stevenson takes a flat fee to fight Haney, that even if he loses, you could still build him back up because he fought Haney, right? It's not like Loma. Loma is looked upon as washed. He's not washed, by the way. Among the judges robbed him. Why? Because they don't believe that Loma is going to carry the sport anymore. That's why he got robbed. They believe that Haney's a new young star and he got the belts. We need to put money behind Haney, not Loma. That's what that decision was done for, right? We got to peep the game. You know this for a fact. They did the same thing with Pacquiao. Pacquiao started getting robbed because they want to crown the new, right? So he's looked upon as washed, even though clearly he wasn't. And we know how boxing perception really matters in the sport. The sport is as black and white as any sport there is, right? You win, all right, you a champion. You lose, no matter, even if you got robbed, it's black and white. So my point is that if Shakur loses to Haney, so what? So what? You can still build your career back up. Pitbull did it with Tank. Why? Because it's Tank. And then Pitbull started knocking everybody out. And that's why we don't even care if we get a part 2. Yeah, sure. I see a part 2, right? Even Canelo was able to build back up after he lost to Mayweather because it's Mayweather, right? Who else are we talking about here? A lot of people, right? Ryan Garcia. Do we feel worse about Ryan Garcia now? Like, nah, I just think he needs to work on his defense, and clearly he feels that too because he's linking up with Derrick James. So Ryan Garcia still can make a big fight. Rolly, you know, even though he can't fight to save his mama, he still got the personality to sell.
But look at Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, those guys, they lost fights, came back, and
boxing is changing. Before, in boxing just a couple years ago, if you lost, end of your career. It's a wrap. Now it's like boxing is becoming more popular again to the point where if you take an L, like back in the day, like Muhammad Ali, if I take an L, I can still recover from it. And that's why boxing is in a better place than it was just a few years ago.
No, absolutely.
Right, and that's what we've been calling for too. We've been calling for it for years now. Like the best have to fight the best. Enough with all these belts.
Exactly.
And, I mean, we're at 1 of 2. I mean, the best are starting to fight the best now, which is something to be grateful for.
Listen, I agree with that. I'm glad that the record's no longer you have to be undefeated, X, Y, Z. This is not college football. This is not college sports. You don't have to be undefeated in order to be winning championships in X, Y, Z. It's about the talent. Who's going up after who. So I think when it's Shakur Stevenson's case, he's in a win-win scenario. Win or lose, his name keeps rising as long as the fight's great. You know, I think a couple fights ago, I forgot who he fought. They said it was a lackluster fight. It went to the decision. He didn't look his best. He even said that he didn't look his best. So, like, that's something like that can't happen again. And I hope it don't happen against Haney or Davis or whoever he fights next. I think Bob Arum, I think that's his name, he discussed that his next fight is going to be November 18th, the next major fight for Shakur Stevenson. So we'll see who that will be on November 18th that Shakur will be fighting. I'm very interested in seeing who will fight and when that announcement comes into fruition. But it's the man's in a win-win scenario. Yeah, win or lose, draw, whatever happens to Shakur Stevens' way, his name's gonna keep rising as long as he's showing his elements in the ring, his IQ, his power, his tactical movements, his wrapping around the ring, he'd be able to push the pace, the tempo. That is what Shakur Stevens is known for, and people are so amazed by him because of how young he is and how he's doing it. He's not one of these defensive fighters waiting for you to swing. He's pushing the pace. He's making you swing, miss, and then hitting you with the most destructive punch you probably felt in your life. So that's something that Shakur Stevenson is doing. And I'm saying his course, his path, rather he wants to force it or not, is paved. He is set. He is walking on golden bricks to the promised land. And that man, no matter what he does or doesn't do, is solidified. All he has to do is be patient. Okay, you want the Haney fight. Now it's off the table. What's in front of me? I got Loma, I got Cruz, I got Davis. Which one of the three want to fight me next? And his name is only going to rise as a pay-per-view box office guy. I feel like personally, just like the way boxing has been maneuvering over the last several years, as Lil alluded to, it's been, we're putting this for the long haul. We're doing this for a long time, like WWE. We're extending your lifespan as long as we possibly can until it's finally your time. And it seems like boxing is now going with we want the best talents to fight the best talents. So maybe if Haney's off the table right now, that doesn't mean it's off the table forever because we don't know what's going to happen when Haney goes to 140. Haney could probably lose to Prograis. He could lose to him, and he come right back down.
I doubt it, but, you know, I doubt it. He could. You know, you got to respect Prograis' power, but, you know, I don't see that as likely.
But it can happen. We've seen it.
My last point before we move on to the final topic here is I just remember that image after that Loma fight when Loma got robbed and Shakur went into that ring with that look on his face, like he saw blood in the water.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're going to look like that and you believe that you could be Haney, take that pay cut, convince Haney to take the fight and go for it. But once again, it's up to Devin Haney, and we'll see what he does going forward and what's next in his career.
please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.